Hi, welcome to the series of Jasper Reports. In this session, we are going to see the basics of HTML5 charts. And we will also see how we can create a pie chart using HTML5 component in Jaspersoft Design Studio. The agenda for this session is, firstly, I will walk you through the basics of HTML5 charts and some key terminology that we use across HTML5 charts. Secondly, we will see how we can create a pie chart using HTML5 component in the studio. Thirdly, we will see how we can apply advanced properties and data labels of a pie chart. Then we will see how we can convert a pie chart into a donut chart by applying an advanced property. And finally, we will see how we can create a pie chart, how we can create a semi pie chart, and how we can create a dual level pie chart in the studio. Let's get started. HTML5 charts. HTML5 charts are the advanced charts that are available only in the professional editions. HTML5 charts are implemented in a technology called Highcharts. Highcharts are purely written in HTML5 and JavaScript technologies. Highcharts provide interactive views that animates directly. Now, let us have a look at the key terminology that we use across HTML5 charts. The terminology includes values, expressions, categories, levels, measures, and series contributors. Let us briefly look at each of these terminology. Values. Values represent the static properties. Expressions represents the dynamic properties. Categories represent the rows in a graph. Levels represents either category or a series. That means in a graph, we can have more than one category or more than one series. And if we have more than one category, for instance, these categories will be in a hierarchical order. And for instance, if we consider region, country, and state as three categories, we represent category 1 as level 1, or the region as level 1 category, and the country as level 2 category, and the state as level 3 category. Measures. Measures represents the numeric value information, and basically this is an aggregated value. Measures represents the height of a bar in a bar chart, or the size of a slice in a pie chart, or some data points on a line chart. And we can also represent the areas using measures. Series contributors. Series contributors, we apply these on measures. We will see more about series contributors when we move on to a bar chart or a line chart. Now, let us move on to the example on how we can create a pie chart using HTML5 component. So before jumping on to the example, let's briefly look at what is a pie chart and what properties associated with a pie chart. Pie chart is basically a circular graph. It is used to compare the parts of a whole. We represent the data in the form of slices, where each slice represents the size. And we require categories and values to plot a pie graph. Now, let us consider a scenario of product sales. So in the example, we are going to display the product sales by brand name. Brand name is the category and product sales is the measure. So to start with, let's create a blank report. From file, new, Jasper report. Then select the blank report from the report templates. Click on next. Then let's save this report under reports folder. I am going to name it as HTML5 pie chart, then product sales by brand name. So it looks like we have already a report with the same name. So let's version it as 2 and save it under reports folder. So click on next. Then from the data adapter dropdown, select the Pudma data source. I have created a query such that it gets the brand name and store sales in the results. So let's execute this query here and see how the data is displaying in the results. So brand name and store sales. Brand name is going to be the category and store sales is going to be the measure for the graph. So we have 7 different types of brand name and we already aggregated these sales by its brand name. So let's copy this query and supply it for the report here. Click on next. Let's take brand name and store sales for the graph. So click on next. Let's skip group by fields we don't require for this demonstration. So click on finish. Basically, graphs represents the summary information of a report. So to keep the summary information, we have a specific band called summary. So for this demonstration, we are going to keep title band and summary band. So let's remove the remaining band that includes page header, column header, detail, column footer, and page footer. So multi-select all of these bands from the outline, then click on this delete option. Now we have the summary band and title band on the design space. Now to have the HTML5 component with a pie chart, we need to be in the palette section, and in the components row, we can see HTML5 chart component. So let's select this one and drag it onto the summary band. As we drag the component onto the summary band, we can see this chart edit dialog wizard, uh, which contains all the available charts from the HTML5 component. So by default, it shows all charts. Our demonstration is based on pie chart. So let's click on this pie category. Pie has 3 different types of visualizations again here. So let's select the pie chart and click OK. Now we have the component on the summary band. Let's fit this component to the height and width of the summary band. So save this report. Now let us configure the data for these charts. To do that, right click on the chart element, then click on the edit chart properties. So this wizard has 3 different sections. In this wizard, we can create the chart, we can edit the chart, and we can customize the chart by supplying some basic and advanced properties. So in the select chart type section, we have already selected the pie chart. So we don't need to worry or look into more on this one. So the second option, the default option while we click on the edit chart properties is the data configuration, which is having 2 sections again. One is data and data set. So in a Jasper report, we can create our own data sets, right? So we need to tell our chart which data source should be used. So before configuring the properties in the data section, we need to map the data set. If we have any sub data set, we have to select them from this drop down, and each of these data sets have its individual properties on the top here. That means we can apply this reset type, reset group, increment type, increment group. So this option we can apply on the selected data set here. So let's go with the default one because we have provided the SQL for the main report. So by default, it takes report main data sets. Now switch back to the data section, and this is the basic view of the properties that we can configure on the pie chart. But if we want to have a detailed look of the same properties, we can switch to the advanced settings in the bottom here, switch to advanced configuration. So on the basic configuration, slice expression is the category name, and slice label expression, again, this is a This can be based on a field, or this can be a static text. Then the value expression represent the measure values. And if we do not aggregate the data at SQL level, we can also apply the function at report level by using this aggregation function option, which is a drop-down option where we can see various functions such as count, sum, average, lowest, highest. So we can make use of this utility if we do not have the data grouped at SQL core level, and we can apply the tooltip on the slices, and we can provide the ordering for the category. So this is about the basic view of basic configuration of the pie chart, but let's have a detailed detailed look at the properties by clicking on the switch to advanced configuration. And now we are going to configure these properties in the advanced view. So this advanced view is divided into 3 sections here: category levels, series levels, and measures. Series levels, we don't apply any series for the pie chart, so we can skip the second part here. But on the first one, which is category levels, by default, a category level 1 is created, and under the measures, by default, a level 1 measure is created. So for this demonstration, we are going to have only one level for both category and measure. So let's go with the default level 1 and measure 1 here. So under the categories, select the level 1, or double click on this one to bring up its individual properties, or we can click on this modify option. So click on the modify option here, then we can see the individual properties of this level 1 in a pop-up here. And again, this pop-up has 2 sections of properties, and we call this as, basically we call this as a bucket. And here we can see bucket information as one section and bucket properties as another section. So we are going to work on bucket information only. Bucket properties, we will deeply look into this one when we move on to a concept called as drill down reports from HTML5 charts. So let's switch back to the bucket information here, and in the expression, let's give the brand name field. So brand name is the field, and label expression, we can skip this part for this demo. And value class name, by default it is taken as comparable, but brand name is of string type. So this comparable class is a superclass of the string. So let's go with the default one, and the order is taken as ascending by default, but we have already applied order by class at SQL level, so we can select the order as none for this category. And this comparator expression, this is optional for a basic implementation. So let's go with the default options and then click on OK here. So we are done configuring the category for the pie chart. Now let's move on to the measure part. So select the measure one here, click on modify. Then this measure also has 2 sections of properties here: value definition and advanced properties. So series contributors comes under into this section of advanced properties of a measure, but we will save that for a next session. Let's go with the default options here, which is value definition, and label expression could be what we are going to print on the tooltip. So calculation, by default it is taken as nothing. Let's go with the default one, or we can also apply the summation function. So we are not going to apply any function because we have already aggregated the data based on brand name by applying summation function at the SQL level. So let's skip that part as well. And the value expression should be store sales here. So select the store sales field, then click on finish. And this should be of which type? This should be of big decimal, and the superclass for the big decimal is number, and this is the default class taken by the report engine. So let's go with the default one, and we do not need to worry about this increment factory class name for this demo. And this property, associated hyperlink. So using this property, we can configure the drill down properties from a HTML5 chart. So we will again save that part for a later session, we will discuss more about how we can drill down from HTML5 graphs to its detailed reports later. But let's go with this default configuration for the measure here. So click on OK, then click OK, save the report and publish it to the server and see how the data is showing up on the graph. So publish the report to the reports folder under Jasper Reports 2021 folder, and let's remove the empty spaces and click on next, then select the data source as footnote from the dropdown, footnote, then click on finish, and let's see how the data is showing up on the pie graph. So this is the report we published, HTML5 pie chart product sales by brand name 2. So it looks like we have a previous one somewhere. Oh, okay, not in the server, but in the studio, in the workspace, we have a same name. So let's don't worry about that one. So select this report name and click on run button or run a new button to view in a new tab. So we can see that the data is displayed on the pie graph in the form of slices, and each slice label is displayed on the output here. So we can see the legends. So this is nothing but interactivity. So as soon as we click on any of the smaller icons in the legends, we can see they are hidden from the actual graph. So this interactivity we can get through the HTML5 charts, and when we hover the mouse, we can see what information is that particular slice is having. So this is how we can implement. This is how we can create a HTML5 graph using HTML5 component in the studio. Now, in the next phase, we are going to see how we can bring up this slice value and percentage. So by default, when we configure this pie chart, it won't get with this labels and percentages for the pie chart. To get those, we need to apply the advanced properties. So in the next slides, we will see how we can do that. So basically, this data labels includes category name, value, and percentages for the pie chart. So we need to provide this point name, point y, point percentage, then 0 property for the format. This value we have to provide for this plot options by data label format property. So these are basically advanced properties which is directly not available on the chart component in the studio. So we have to get these properties from the API. So let us see how we can get these labels on the pie charts. So I'm going to take a replica of the same graph in the same report, but I'm going to increase the report size, report width here. So let's increase this to 1200. Click OK, and then take another replica. Okay. So let's cancel. Let's copy and paste this. Let's increase the size of this summary band a bit more. So now take the copy of the graph and put it beside to the first one. So to get the labels and to get the percentages of these slices, we have to be in the chart formatting options. So the chart section on the edit wizard, we can see the chart formatting options. These are the default options that comes with the chart components, but no property from this section will give us the labels and percentages for the pie chart. but we can give something like title product sales by brand name. So this is these are some of the properties that we can directly apply here, but but like uh, but like labels and percentage, we cannot configure them directly using any of the existing option. So we need to configure them from the advanced configuration section, and we can navigate to that section by clicking on the show advanced properties button in the bottom here. So we can see this has three sections again here. Select the chart type, data configuration, and chart formatting. And this chart formatting is again has two sections, default and context specific. So we need to be in the default section, and the navigation is this one here. Okay, let me go to the slide. Okay, so plot options, pie, data labels, and format. So navigate to this level. So these are the folder structure, and expand the plot option here, then pie, then data labels, then we have format and formatter. So both takes uh, the functions, or both takes the expressions, I would say. So in the format option, we are going to give this value here. So select the format option here, then click on modify. It gives the it opens up the edit property value. Then click on this use expression and open the expression editor, and within the double quotes, let's provide the property. So point represents basically the value, and the value has a name as a slice, and then this brings the category name here, and point dot y prints gets the value of the measure, and point dot percentage with no decimals displayed, this gets the percentages for the each slice. So let us see how this comes up on the output. So click on finish, click OK. Now we have this value set for the format function. So click OK, then save the report and publish it to the server, and see how the advanced properties are showing up on the graph. Yeah. So this is a basic view of the first one is the basic view of the pie chart using HTML5 component, and the second one is the replica of the same graph, but we have applied a basic property, and we have applied advanced properties to get the values of the each slice and the percentage of the each slice with no decimals. So if we want to have decimals printed, uh, we have to update this 0 with 1 or 2. So 2 gets the 2 decimal, and 1 gets the 1 decimal mm, after the actual value. So this is how we can apply advanced property on the data labels of a pie chart. Now in the next phase, we are going to see how we can convert a HTML pie chart to a donut chart. So for that, we need to apply these plot options pie inner size property with some numeric value. So let us see how we can do that here. So let's take another copy of this report. So I am going to save it as HTML5 and donut chart. So let's remove the first one from the another copy, and let's take this one here, and let us apply one more advanced properties to convert a pie chart into a bar chart. So the advanced property is this one here, plot options pie, then the inner size. So let's navigate to this folder, or say this property, plot options pie, then the inner size. So by default it is taken as 0. Let's do not give an expression, instead just give the 120 as the value, because this requires uh, this requires always a number, so we can directly give a number for this property. So click OK, and let's publish this report as a separate entity. So publish this report and the reports folder, and let's name it as donut chart. So select the football database again here. Then click on finish. Then from the view repository, then the report name. Let's run this donut chart. So this is how we can convert a HTML pie graph to a HTML5 donut chart. Now this looks very pretty, and this completes the graph visualization. We can see the label information, we can see the value of the slice, and we can see the percentage of each slice here. So this looks very nice to me, and this completes the graph full information. In the next session, or in the next slide, say, let us see how we can create this semi pie chart and dual level pie charts in the studio. So this would be the last two examples that we are going to see in the session. So let us take another copy of the JRXML here. File, save as, I'm going to name it as semi pie and real pie chart. So we are not going to change the previous example. Let us see how we can convert this as a semi pie chart. So instead of taking another element and dragging it onto the um, canvas, let's try to convert this existing pie chart into a semi pie chart. So we need to be in the edit chart properties, then we need to be in the select chart type section, and from the category select the pie option here, and let's select the semi pie. So this selection converts the actual pie into a semi pie. So let's save this report and publish it as a separate entity to the server. So this is going to be semi pie and real level pie chart. So again, select the data source from the repository. So I am going to take footnote here again, and let's finish, and let's try to run the third report in the line of examples. So we have this semi pie here. So select the report name, HTML5 semi pie and dual level pie chart, and run it onto the server. We can see that the semi pie is displayed with its labels and values and percentages. So this is basically a semi-donut, I would say. So let's remove the inner size property from the graphs. That we can do it here in the XML code directly. So this is 120. This at row number 64, we can see that property on the 63. The property name is plot option by inner size, and the value is 120 in the next line. We can update this value to 0 from 120 so that we would get the pie representation of the chart. So instead of this donut, semi donut, we can see semi pie here. So let's refresh this page. So we can see the semi pie chart is displayed. So based on our requirement, we can have these many different types of visualization in single pie chart component. So now let us see how we can plot a dual level pie chart. So for dual level pie chart, I have a separate query created. This is the example query. So dual level pie chart, it requires at least 2 levels to plot the graph, and we are going to have this data to be represented on the dual level pie chart. Level 1 is the with level 1 category, and level 2 is the level 2 category. We are not going to have series for this one. So let us go and let us represent this data and the dual level pie chart. So copy this query and let's create a new data set in the report, because I do not want to update the existing main report query for this demo. So instead, we will see how we can make use of a data set for a chart component. So for that, let's create a data set here. Let's go with the default options for creating this data set. Click on next and select the Foodman database. Let's take the sample query, and this has level 1, level 2, and the measure. So let's take all the fields to plot the graph. Then click on next, and let's skip the group by fields here. So click on next. Now we have the data set created. Now I am going to take a new component from the HTML5 charts under pie category. So from the pie category, select the dual level pie, then click OK. And let's fit the height and width to the height of the summary band. Now go to the edit chart properties of the dual level. Then instead of going with this simpler view of the properties configuration, let's switch to the advanced configuration. We can see the clear picture on what to configure for the dual level pie chart. So in our demonstration, we are going to have level 1 and level 2, and these are represented as level 1 and category 1 here. And we are going to have one measure for this representation. So select the level 1 from the category level section, modify it, and in the expression, let's go with the okay. So before configuring these values, we need to select which data set to be used by the graph. So in the data set section, by default, it is taken as report main data set, but we have created a data set called data set 1 for the dual level pie chart. So let's select this data set one from the drop down, and as soon as you select the data set, we can see the connection information, parameters mapping, return values information for the data set. So we are not going to have any parameters for this demonstration. So let's go with the simpler selection of the data set here. So now switch back to the data section and double click on the level 1 and change the expression to the level 1 field name. And for category, so let's take the order as none. And similarly for the category, let's take level 2 as the category 1 here. And let's take none for the order for the level 2, and let's provide the measure here. So for the measure, let's take this as sales, then calculation can be sum here, and the integer is measure, because in the SQL code I haven't aggregated any data uh, related to the level 1 or level 2. So that is why I am taking the calculation as sum, and the report engine will take care of summing of the measures at level 1 and level 2. So let's go with the other default options here. So click OK, and publish this report to the server. Click OK. Then let's refresh this page again to the dual level pie chart. So we can see this is the inner chart represents the level 1, and the outer chart outer ring specifies the um, second visualization. Basically, the second level is the subset of the first set here. So this is how we can create a dual level pie chart in a Jasper reports. So this brings us to the end of the session on the HTML5 component and different types of examples on a single pie element. So I hope you're a little clearer on what we saw in this session, but before we wrap up, let's do a quick recap of what we saw so far. So in the recap, so in the first phase, we have seen what is HTML5 charts and some key terminology that we use across HTML5 components. And secondly, we have seen how we can create a pie chart using HTML5 component. And thirdly, we have seen how we can apply advanced properties on data labels to get the label name, then the value of the slice and the percentage of the slice. And then we have seen how we can convert a pie chart to a donut chart. And finally, we have seen how we can create a semi pie chart and a semi donut chart along with the dual level pie chart. So that's all for this session. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more updates.